So we've reached Prema Bhakti. We've come through, first of all, Vanashram. Then we upgraded to Nishkarma Karma Yoga. Oh, I'm already being spoken here. It's good sound. Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, yes, then we went to Nishkarma Karma Yoga, then we went to Sharanagati. And we understood that Sharanagati is not the principal function of the soul. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj has given a very nice example of this that I've said many times, that Sharanagati is likened to getting dressed. Every day we have to get dressed just to perform our activities on the streets. We have to get dressed to go anywhere, to do anything. But it's not the purpose of life to get dressed. It's automatically must be there. Similarly, Sharanagati must be there to continue our progressive unfoldment of our sadhana bhakti, aiming at bhav bhakti. So Sharanagati must be there, but it's not the topmost at all. It's the initial stage, actually. And then we came to Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So in Gyan Mishra Bhakti, I meant to say this at the time, but I forgot. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada quotes I want to quote from him. He says something very nice here. Lord Chaitanya wants the living entity to be free from every type of material consciousness. So these are 4 types of material consciousness. Varnashram, Nishkarma Karma, Sharanagati, and Gyan Mishra Bhakti. 4 types of material consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants the living entity to be free from every type of material consciousness, including becoming unconcerned with empiric knowledge. That's Gyan Mishra Bhakti. And fruitive activities. That's Karmakand. One should stay in pure consciousness, as even a slight tinge of material consciousness causes an impersonal conception of the absolute truth. The very second we start to deviate, immediately it's indicative of our not appreciating the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord. Isn't it? As soon as we deviate, it means we don't really have full faith that Krishna's a person and he's right there. Just like we are people and we are right here. Why should we think Krishna any less than that? But if we deviate from this path, then we start to think that Krishna's not really there. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he says very beautifully, he says, whenever the sense of enjoying or enjoyment arises in the heart of the jiva, we should know that humility is far away. If we're enjoying something here in this realm, that means humility is far away. So this is just an example. And then he goes on to say, if a convalescent, this is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada speaking, if a convalescent person is not properly taken care of, a relapse of the disease may mar the whole attempt of recovery. He also says in the Brahmabhuta liberated stage, one has not yet obtained a resting place at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. As such, one is still unsupported and thus runs the chance of falling down again into material activities. So these stages we've been through are imperative that we catch them up and make progress in these stages, not neglect them, not think, oh, this is not about Prema Bhakti or trying to go higher and higher when we haven't really built our solid foundation. As such, one is still unsupported and thus runs the chance of falling down again into material activities. It is therefore also external, and thus the 4th suggestion of Ramananda Roy was rejected by Lord Chaitanya. So that's Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada just making us understand the necessity of Mahaprabhu's mercy in going through these stages. So then we come to Gyan Shunya Bhakti. This is what we discussed yesterday. And Mahaprabhu, he accepts this. This is Bhakti beyond Gyan. And the beautiful verse that my Gurudev often chants in this regard, Gyan Prayasam Udabhasya Namanta Eva. This verse from Bhagavatam 10:14, Lord Brahma is saying like this. So Mahaprabhu accepted this, but he wanted more. He wanted to go higher. So now we've come to page 60, 3. Prema Bhakti, the stage of Prema Bhakti. And now we're going to progressively, this is like we're crossing over this Viraja river and we're coming into a transcendental realm now. So all of these topics, especially when it gets into the different rasas, they're across the Viraja river. We've left these sudden bhajan behind and we're approaching Bhav Bhakti here. This chapter of Prema Bhakti will be describing the nature of Bhav Bhakti, which is in the 22nd chapter of Jivadhamma. So we'll chant this Prema Bhakti verse.
868. Prabhu kahe eho hai आगे कहार राय कहे Prema Bhakti sarva sadhya sar.
Sriman Mahaprabhu said, O Ramananda, this may be called the Sadhya, Gyan Shunya Bhakti, may be called the Sadhya. But please speak something more. Sriman Ramananda Roy said, Prema Bhakti is the essence of all perfection. So appreciate every single time he's saying this is the essence of all perfection. It is the essence of all perfection, yet still we can go beyond that. In itself, it's the essence of all perfection for someone at that stage. But there is progression. Actually, this spiritual path is unlimited. This ocean of ras is fathomless. You can't reach the bottom of it. That's the nature of it. Everything in the material world is limited. But in contrast, everything in the spiritual world is unlimited. So this perfection is a stage, this Prema Bhakti. Up until now, Sriman Mahaprabhu had only responded to all proposals with Eho Bhaya. This is external. Bhaya, Bahiranga. We know this word, Bahiranga and Antaranga. So Bhaya, Eho Bhaya. This is external. But now he says, Eho Haya. This may be. In other words, this is okay. We've accepted this. When Gyan Shunya Bhakti was proposed, he said, this is good, because whatever Sri Ramananda Roy had explained before had not been conducive for the progressive understanding of a master-servant relationship. It's relationship. We said the last thing we said yesterday, everything is founded on this conception of love and affection. Love has to be, it's a verb, to love. There has to be a subject and an object, right? So, what is the subject and what is the object? If it's just Shantaras, if it's just me, like in Sharanagat, for example, I am surrendering. I am thinking about my surrender. Anakulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, etc. I'm performing all these acts of Sharanagat myself, but I'm not exclusively focusing on the pleasure of the Lord by that. You understand? These are very subtle distinctions that are being brought out here. He said, this is good, but because whatever Sri Ramananda Roy had explained before had not been conducive for the progressive understanding of the master-servant relationship. The master-servant relationship, Krishna and the Jiva. However, this Gyan Shunya Bhakti is favorable for its development. With Gyan Shunya Bhakti, there can be this master and servant relation. It's not like just Gyan, like empiric Gyan, like the Gyani. Not the Gyani Bhakta, but the Gyani. The Gyani Bhakta is different to the Gyani. The Gyani is focusing on the Brahmand, but the Gyani Bhakta understands with knowledge the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. I've described that before, like Bhishma Dev was a Gyani Bhakta. Prahlad Maharaj is a Gyani Bhakta. Jad Bharat is like a Gyani Bhakta. They are focusing on the opulence of the Lord. The Gyan in that sense is to know the opulence, the opulent feature of the Lord. Eclipses their sweetness. It restricts their ability to have a more intimate relationship. Mahaprabhu's request for him to speak further. But by the way, if you're in that rasa, for example, like Uddhav, if you are a Gyani Bhakta, like Bhishma Dev, that is the highest estimation conceivable in your consciousness, because that will be your staibhav. And you don't want anything beyond that. So don't think that person who is in that rasa is being restricted in any way. Just like now we're going to progressively go through all the different rasas. It's not like if you're in Dasya Ras and you've heard that Madhurya Ras is the highest, oh, I want to change, I want to go to Madhurya Ras. No, you're completely self-satisfied in that, like Mother Yashoda. She's in Vatsalya Ras, fully absorbed. She doesn't want to go anywhere else other than that. She has no inclination. Even if she's hearing, this is such a higher taste. No. For her, this, my Lala Krishna, this is the highest taste in existence. The same with the Jnani Bhakta. Uddhav would never want to change his staibhav, even though he went to Vrindavan and witnessed the height of the gopis' prem. He was just happy to honor their prem. But he didn't want that for himself. He wanted to be a bush to get the mercy of those gopis. But he didn't want to become a gopi. He didn't want to change that. So understand this clearly. It's not a, what do you call it, upward progression. It's called Vaishishtya. It's a speciality within each of these rasas. It's not a question about moving from one to the next. You have a staibhav, that's fixed. We'll discuss this in this chapter. Mahaprabhu's request for him to speak further on this point reveals that Ramananda Rai had now reached the correct path but should proceed further. From the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-3, this is Jnanesam Prayasam, this verse we just said, which Ramananda Rai spoke to illuminate Jnana Shunya Bhakti, one may comprehend that practicing Jnana Shunya Bhakti and hearing Harikatha is so powerful that Bhagavan becomes controlled by the sadhak who does so. Bhagavan will come under that control. The Shruti also confirms that Bhagavan is controlled by Bhakti. Bhakti Vasa Purushaha. Yet the degree to which he is controlled is gradated. Understand, this is the subtlety. It's not that Krishna is controlled in the same way by all the different rasas. The way he is controlled by the gopis is not the same way that he is controlled by that Shunya Bhakti personality. It's not the same. It's not the same entirely. Just like yesterday, the last thing we discussed yesterday, it's very interesting. I hope you all appreciate it strongly. It says each person's bhakti and their practices of the limbs of bhakti are unique. This was the last thing we read yesterday. So understanding this point, so how can this idea of being controlled be the same for everybody? So Gurudev says very clearly here, it is also gradated. He is not controlled equally by all the bhaktas. These are subtle points. It's not like just saying blanket statements. There's all these subtleties within. Sadhaks engage in devotional services according to their individual tastes and desires. Same thing again. And thus they control Krishna to the degree of their devotion. They may even be performing the same limb of bhakti as each other, but due to the sadhak's individual natures, there will be differences in their practice, so they will not control Bhagavan to the same degree. Essentially, this means that to the degree of intensity with which a devotee desires to perform service, Bhagavan is then accordingly inclined to manifest his quality of being controlled by him. It is for this reason that the devotees of Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Kantabhav means Madhurya, do not each control Bhagavan to the same extent. In other words, it's also immensely personal. This is reinforcing the absolute personal conception. It's not all one. It's all entirely variegated and personal. There is another point to consider. Is Bhagavan controlled simply by hearing the Harikatha that comes from the mouth of his devotees? Or is Bhagavan controlled by a listener who attains some special state on hearing Harikatha. It is with the intention of clarifying this that Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to speak a little further on the subject. We know the story, and I've sent it on the link a couple of days ago, of the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya, the story of Gokarna. When Gokarna was speaking the Bhagavatam, his brother, Dundukari, the ghost, was listening with absolute fierce, rapt attention, because he was in the body of a ghost. Desperate attention. And at the end of each day, it's a sapta class. What do you call it? Saptaha. So with each day, one of these knots in the bamboo rod would pop. And this was, Dundukari was inside that rod. And each pop was showing that he was getting liberated from this material conception, from his ghostly body. And at the end, a Vaikuntha plane came and picked up only Dundukari. And Gokarna, he says to the Vaikuntha-vasis, to those personalities in the plane, well, we all heard the Bhagavatam too, why don't we go back as well? And they responded, because you didn't hear it with the same desperation and greed as Dundukari was hearing it. So the listener and his quality of hearing is going to be different. In all cases, we're not all going to hear the same. There's an expression in English. Some, when you read the newspaper, for example, some can see the black part and some can see the white part. Some see black and some see white, so you can see either. Everything we hear is unique. This reinforces the personal conception. That's why it's being spoken of. I know in society today, in schools, in educational centers, etc., they are trying to sandwich everyone into the one box. There's schools like the Montessori school, for example, which gives them liberation from those boxes. But there are most educational institutions want to shove everyone to the same place, because then the governments control everyone easily. That's the demonic world that we live in. So the listener controls Bhagavan just by listening to the narrations of Bhagavan's pastime. This is fine, but this takes place only when the hearer of Harikatha is situated in the stage of Prem. We are talking now about Prem. So Prema Bhakti, devotion endowed with the characteristics of divine love. Divine love. We said love is the verb, to love, an object. It's not impersonal. That proclivity to render such service is to give excessive happiness to Krishna is called Prem. The gopis are always immersed in the thought of how to satisfy Krishna's calm, how to satisfy Krishna's desires. That's all they're thinking about, because they're all the Kaya Vyuha of Sri Radhika. And Sri Radhika is only immersed in this thought of how to satisfy Krishna. Nothing else is in her mind. So the gopis are the same. They have that same seed. Through the performance of hearing and chanting performed in the stage of Gyan Shunya Bhakti, by the mercy of Bhagavan, the contamination of the heart is gradually dispelled. Thereafter, knowledge of the servant's relationship with the Lord, as well as the tendency to serve Sri Krishna, both the tendency to serve and the actuality of serving, should manifest in the heart. Because we can imagine, like when we read Brihat Bhagavatamrita, and Gop Kumar, he comes to that planet of the Kumaras, and they say, no, you can just meditate on Krishna in the heart. He is situated in the heart. Gop Kumar wasn't satisfied with that. He wanted to see Krishna and to directly render service. So we're trying to increase this pure desire of Shuddha Bhakti. Thereafter, knowledge of the servant's relationship with the Lord, as well as the tendency to serve Sri Krishna, manifest in the heart. Then, by the mercy of the Swarup Shakti, it must be the mercy of the Swarup Shakti, Sri Radha, the essence of the Hladini and Sangvit Shakti, Krishna's transcendental bliss and knowledge potencies, enters the heart of the sadhak. It starts in the mental quantum, the Sangvit Shakti, knowledge, and then it, as we said before, comes into the heart region of realization, Vigyan, mixes with the Hladini Shakti, and then it becomes fully realized. Without that bliss from the Hladini, it's not fully realized. The fully ripened or mature stage of Shuddha Sattva is called Prema. This devotional service to Sri Krishna, which is filled with pure love, is known as Prema Bhakti. Bhagavad Gita is both our sadhya and our sadhan. It's the goal to hear about Krishna, and it's our practice to listen to Harikatha. Similarly, so is Prema Bhakti. If there is prema within the heart of the sadhak, then he will perform all the limbs of bhakti with deep love, and Sri Krishna is pleased with him. Without prema, the sadhak may perform bhakti, but that bhakti will never satisfy Krishna. So there are different stages of bhakti that we've described. There's the bhakti that is within Varnashram. There is bhakti in Varnashram, but it's not Shuddha. And also Nishkam karma is also under the heading of bhakti, but it's not pure. There's impurities there because it's on the bodily platform. Still, because it's in process, it can be called bhakti, just like Aropa Siddha Bhakti or Sangha Siddha Bhakti. They're not pure, but they're in process. Without prema, the sadhak may perform bhakti, but that bhakti will never satisfy Sri Krishna. For a person who is hungry, even dry bread seems most appealing. But if someone is neither hungry nor thirsty, then he can easily ignore a delicious feast, replete with the 6 types of tastes: salty, sweet, pungent, bitter, sour, and astringent. Controlled by the prema of Vidura, Sri Krishna ate even banana skins. You remember the pastime. Yet because Duryodhana had no prema, Sri Krishna abstained from a huge feast composed of all 6 tastes served by him. Sri Krishna ate the rice and yogurt offered with prema by the wives of the Brahmanas. Sri Ramachandra ate the remnant fruits of Sabari, the low-caste lady dwelling in the forest. Shabari. How do you say that? Shabari, yes, Shabari. And Sriman Mahaprabhu consumed vegetables snatched from the devotee Sridhar Kolavetsha. He would snatch the vegetables from his selling place. Bhagavan, hungry to eat whatever a premi bhakta offers him, very lovingly and enthusiastically accepts foodstuffs presented with prema. Just like the cowherd boys, they would offer what they had already eaten to Krishna. And the Devas, especially Lord Brahma, they were astonished. They were thinking Krishna will only accept what's been offered in the yajna. But Krishna was accepting this because it was offered with such love. So understand the same principle all the way through. If we're thinking of this, this will all be very simple to understand. Although Sri Lakshmi resided eternally on the chest of Sriman Narayan, she identifies as being the wife of a Brahmana. Proud of this designation, her serving attitude was slackened, and she was thus precluded from entering the pastimes of Braj. When one has knowledge of the relationship between the master, Savya, and servant, Sevak, the tendency or desire to render service transforms into prema, and the premi bhakta chants the holy name, maintaining a vow to chant a fixed number of names daily. The devotee engages in sadhan bhajan, absorbed in the moods expressed in these songs. Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira Govardhana Parvata Yamuna Tira. A bower on the bank of Radhakund, as well as Govardhan Hill and the banks of Yamuna River, all these places are my life and soul. He Radhe Braja Devi Ke Jalalite, He Nanda Suno Kota, Shri Govardhana Kalpa Parapatale, Kalindivane Kuta. O Radha, mistress of Vrindavan, O Lalita, O son of Nanda Maharaj, where are all of you now? Are you seated beneath the Kalpa Vriksha trees, desire trees of Sri Govardhan Hill? or are you roaming in the forests along the soft sandy banks of the Jamuna? So, by regularly chanting these bhajans, this is described as sadhan. This is invoking the pleasure of the Lord and certainly Guru. A devotee who performs sadhan bhajan in this way very much pleases Bhagavan, who becomes restless to taste even his ordinary offerings. In order to taste prem, he will dance for a cup of buttermilk. So this is the personal nature, Gopaji, of Krishna.
869. Nanopachara krita pujanam arthabandho premnaiva bhakta hridayam sukha vidrutam syat yavat shud asti jatare jarata pipasa tavat sukhaya bhavato nanu bhakshapeye.
This is from Padyavali by Rupa Goswami, number 13. As long as one feels acute hunger and thirst, one enjoys eating and drinking. In the same way, even if one worships Artha Bandhu, Bhagavan, the Lord who is the friend of the distressed, with many different types of paraphernalia, only when the puja is performed with prem will the devotee's heart melt with happiness. So this is describing actually Bhav Bhakti. This is the symptom of Bhav Bhakti. The essential meaning is that if very strong hunger and thirst are not present, then even if one is offered very tasty, fragrant, and appetizing dishes, one will still not have a desire to eat. Likewise, if there is no prem, then even if one worships Sri Krishna with many, many different articles, still he will not be pleased. There's the pastime of when all the devas, they came to worship Krishna after lifting Govardhan hill. Lord Indra came with Surabhi Devi, to Surabhi cow, to appease Krishna, and all the demigods appeared because they'd all taken part in this horrific act of trying to drown out the residents of Braj. And they were all offering puja to Krishna. They had 1,000-wick lamps, they had beautiful chamaras and conches, etc. The parijat flowers were being offered. Beautiful articles were being offered, and Krishna was just sitting on a rock, quite bored, actually. And then the cowherd boys were coming along the lower road, and they saw the devas on top of the hill. And Madhumangal, who's the Brahmin boy, oh, these are demigods. But the devas were thinking, oh, this is going to be rasa bas. If the cowherd boys come, this is not going to be pleasing to Krishna. So they jumped behind the clouds, and they left all their paraphernalia there. Then when the cowherd boys came up to where Krishna was on the top of Govardhan hill, then they picked up these articles that the devas had left behind and began play acting and performing the puja to Krishna. And Krishna was so happy. He was laughing, clapping his hands, joking, and the devas were red-faced, embarrassed, thinking Krishna was looking really bored when we were doing this. So you see the distinction between what is done with love and affection and what is done out of duty, or just, because, yes, out of duty. Vaidhi Bhakti is dutiful, which has its place if it's focused on Bhav Bhakti. If we're doing that Vaidhi Bhakti daily, but we're also intending to transform that into Bhav Bhakti. That's our focus. We're still doing the Vaidhi Bhakti. We're all following the Ekadashi. We're attending the Mangalati. We're doing all the different limbs of Bhakti according to the strictures, etc., the regulations. But we have the intention of Bhav Bhakti. That's the difference. The essential meaning is that if... Oh, I didn't read all that. Where am I up to? Do you remember?
Similarly,
if prem is present in a devotee's heart, Krishna receives great happiness by accepting even ordinary items the devotee gives him. Some people may doubt that the example and the idea being clarified actually correspond, because in the example it says that only if a person is hungry and thirsty can taking simple rice and water give him happiness. Yet in the idea being clarified, it says that Bhagavan indeed feels hungry upon being given anything with prema. Thus the doubt may come in the mind that if the devotee is hungry to serve, then how does this make Bhagavan hungry? Yet such a doubt is unfounded. So there's a footnote I'm going to read here. Here in this case, Rai Ramananda is explaining that when the devotee has prema and yearns for Krishna to accept his offering, then the love in the devotee causes a hunger and thirst in Krishna. This is the explanation. The devotee's affection creates in Krishna a hunger and thirst to accept the offering. The offering itself may consist of ordinary items, but still Krishna comes. With great relish, he tastes what the devotee has offered. Why? It is because the prema in the heart of the devotee has created a great hunger in him. We know the story of, what's his name? The son of Mukunda Shekhar, Raghunandan. Raghunandan was asked by his father, small boy, 7 years old, to do the offering while his father had to go to work. And he was offering the bhoga, and Krishna was not coming to take it. And the boy started crying piteously. Why are you not coming to take? Just because I'm a small boy? You have to come and take. So Madan Mohan came off the altar and took all the bhoga. And then Raghunananda took the plate outside. His mother said, where's all the offering? And the boy said, well, Krishna ate it. You told me to give the food to Krishna. Krishna ate it. Mother was astonished. She couldn't understand. She told her husband when he came back, Mukunda Shekhar. And the next day, father asked the son to do the offering again. He wanted to see what was happening. So he hid behind a curtain. And again the boy came in front. This time the Thakurji, Gopinath is the Thakurji, was not responding because he knew, of course, that the father was hiding there. But the boy was crying so piteously that Gopinath came out from his altar and again picked up a laddu and took a bite of it. And then his father revealed himself just in absolute ecstasy, was astonished at the prema of this little boy. So this little boy's prema will control Krishna. And there's a deity there. In Kardaha, you can go and you can see that same deity of Gopinath with a half-eaten laddu in his hand. This is Raghunandan. So these are examples in Shastra describing this. So this is the example of this hunger within the sadhak is going to be reciprocated in Krishna. Whatever the hunger that the sadhak, yeyatamam prabhadyante tam stataiva brajamye, Krishna will reciprocate as according to the devotee's desire. That's simple. We can thus see that since Bhagavan lovingly accepts a devotee's service according to the degree of strong love that he has for Bhagavan, that such a doubt has no basis. If prema is not present in the heart of the devotee, then the desire to accept service cannot possibly awaken in the heart of Bhagavan. As I said, this prema that we're talking about is the prema prior to full-blown prema. This is the stage of bhav. If bhav bhakti is there, Krishna will reciprocate. If prema, once prema awakens in the heart of the devotee and reaches the stage of extreme eagerness and longing to serve, then the desire to accept service awakens in the heart of Bhaktavatsal Bhagavan, the Lord who is always affectionate to the devotee. It's completely reciprocal. It's the same dynamic we've said all the time, that love is a two-way street, so to speak. The subject and object, the verb, to love, must be there. That is why here Bhagavan is called Arthabandhu, friend of the distressed. With regard to the object of sadhana, Sri Rupa Goswami has said,
Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana bida nitya siddhasya bhavasya Prakatyam hridi sadhyata.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 122. Sudden bhakti is the engagement of the mind and senses in the limbs of bhakti for the purpose of attaining bhav bhakti. Bhav bhakti is that stage prior to prem. What's that? What's that verse? Describing Visheshatma. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Suryavam Samyabhak. Is that right? Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Suryavam Samyabhak. Ruchibis Chita Vishnu Shud Ashu Bhav Uchyate. That this bhav is like the ray of prem. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma.
Prema.
No, not yet. It's bhav. It is an ankur. It is the sprout. Yes, but that's not what that verse was saying. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Suryavam Samyabhak. Ruchibis Chicham Vishnu Shud Ashu Bhav Uchyate. Bhav Uchyate. This is the ray of the sun of Prem, the beginning. This bhav is a potentiality which eternally exists in the heart of the jiva and is manifested in the heart, purified by sadhan, through the mercy of a nitya siddha, a living sad guru. So we also have the verse nitya siddha, what's that? Nitya siddha, kabunai, nitya siddha, what's that verse? Nitya siddha, my verses are running away from me. Ekadashi today, not coming immediately. Nitya siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai. Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitta, Korya Udai. Nitya siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai. Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitta, Korya Udai. This is saying the same thing. That this Nitya siddha Krishna Prem, Nitya, eternal, siddha, perfect. Nitya siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai. This verse is saying that it cannot be obtained by sadhan, but through our practice of sadhan, Guru's mercy will manifest, and by his mercy, this Nitya siddha Prem will manifest in the Shuddha Chitta of that verse I just said, which has the same context as the verse we're reading now. That this potentiality, prakatyam hridi, hridi means heart, prakatam hridi sadhyate, that the heart purified by sadhan. So sadhan itself is not going to give the goal, but sadhan is going to purify the heart to invoke Guru's mercy, to come to the point of Sharanagat. Pure devotion is the ever-present, eternal, constitutional position of the jiva. It's eternal, eternally residing in the heart. Nitya siddhyasya bhavasya. The living being is a tiny particle of blissful consciousness, likened to a spark of sunshine, chitkara, of the all-blissful spiritual sun, Chit Surya, Sri Krishna. This naturally occurring happiness is known as Nitya Siddha Bhav, eternally present love for Krishna, and it is awakened in the heart of the jiva by the practice of sadhan bhakti. We have to perform this sadhan to attain the mercy of Guru, to wake up this potentiality which is already in the heart. In this stage, the eternally perfect object, namely the potency of pure love for Godhead, reaches its perfection, just like the fire in wood. The fire is eternally in any piece of wood you look at, but it cannot be ignited until another piece of wood on fire will touch it. So similarly, we must purify ourselves to invoke the mercy of Guru, to ignite that potentiality of the fire within our hearts. Understand? It's a science. When the bound jivas, endeavoring by their senses, strive to attain bhav, their practice is called sadhan bhakti. This is all we have. We have our, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we only have the mind. The mind is the only tool that we have to access transcendence. That's what we have. We have the tool of the mind to access this transcendence. But the mind itself is material. So it's not entirely by the mind that we're going to reach transcendence, but the purification of the mind by sadhana. That is going to soften the heart. This mishrinyu, we said in this verse, Sudasattva Visheshatma, Prem Suryavak Samyava, Ruchibis Marshinya. This is softening the heart. The goal of sadhan bhakti is to awaken bhav bhakti. How many times have we heard that expression from my Gurudev? He says it repeatedly. Prema Bhakti, sadhan bhakti, bhav bhakti, prema bhakti. At the time of initiation or diksha, the Holy Master instructs the sadhak on his relationship with Sri Bhagavan. Jivara Sarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That's the first understanding of our relationship. We're an eternal servant of Krishna. Fixed in this relationship, the devotee performs sadhana with firm determination, and thus he achieves bhav bhakti. When this bhav bhakti reaches a completely ripened condition, it is known as Prema Bhakti. The sadhak bhakta becomes extremely blessed when Sri Guru bestows realization of his position as a maidservant of Sri Radhika. Now we've just jumped from beyond Jivara Sarup Hoy, Krishna, just being a servant of God, but what type of servant of God? So if the realization is given that our sthai bhav is that of a maidservant of Sri Radhika, then we can fully embrace this conception of Radha Dasya, but not until that time. Only by the devotion of his devotees does Sri Krishna's love swell. The term sadhan bhakti includes all the progressive stages of bhakti: shraddha, faith, sadhu sangha, association with pure devotees, bhajana, anushtana, performance of devotional service to Krishna, anartha nivritti, the diminishing of all unwanted habits, nishta, firm faith, ruchi, taste, and asakti, attachment. So these are all very important stages. But this next verse is pivotal. Okay.
870. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukrutaya Na Labhyate.
So this is from the Padyavali also by Rupa Goswami. O men of virtue, if consciousness that is saturated and perfumed with the nectar of Krishna Bhakti is available anywhere, then purchase it at once without delay. The only price to get it is greed to obtain Brajaras, the moods of Braj. Without this divine greed, then even heaps of spiritual credits, Sukriti, accumulated over millions of lives, will not be enough to procure that bhakti for Sri Krishna. It's saying the same that we've been talking about practically from the beginning, and Mahaprabhu has been demonstrating himself through his own enthusiasm, this greed, this lobha. And if it's anywhere, we should give anything to obtain that. Utsaha, this greed. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that this type of devotion, where the heart is soaked in Krishna Bhakti Ras, the nectar of loving service to Krishna, has only one price, and that price is greed. If you listen to my Gurudev's lectures on Vilap Kusumanjali, you can hear he's constantly saying this greed has to be awoken. Bhakti is of two types. The first is Shastra Avadharana Mayi Vaidhi Bhakti, the path of bhakti inspired by the governing principles of the scriptures, Vaidhi Bhakti. And the second is Lobha Mulaka Raganuga Bhakti, devotion impelled by greed to follow the loving sentiments of the eternally perfected residents of Braj. Here, Sri Ramananda Rai is alluding solely to the second type of devotion, namely Lobha Mulaka Raganuga Bhakti. Sri Chakravarti Thakur tells us that the only method to give happiness to Sri Krishna is Krishna Bhakti Bhavita Mati, to have a consciousness infused with the flavors of loving service to him. A fortunate person may enter this Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotion. In this case, Sri Krishna means Brajendra Nandan, Sri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj. The Bhakti signifies Bhav Bhakti, the initial stage of perfection in devotion, which matures into Prema Bhakti. The phrase Prema Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati refers to that person whose every pore is utterly saturated with Sri Krishna Bhakti Ras, and whose intelligence has become one with that of Bhakti Ras. And there's a footnote here, it says Bhakti Ras, attachment to Sri Krishna in the mood and manner of those eternally perfected devotees, particularly the Brijbasis. This mood may only be attained by the mercy of Bhagavan. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it has been said,
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hrutkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanad asvapavarga vartmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishati.
This is from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev speaking to his mother Devahuti, chapter 25, verse 25. In the assembly of pure devotees, powerful discussions illuminating my heroic deeds become a rejuvenating tonic for both the ears and the heart. By hearing these narrations, one quickly advances on the path of emancipation from ignorance. First he develops Shraddha, then Rati, and finally Prema Bhakti. We take all sorts of material supplements for our body, but the real supplement is this Rasayan, this tonic of the powerful pastimes of Krishna. This Bhakti Bhav is received by two methods, by the mercy of the devotee, Bhakta Prasadaja, and by the mercy of Bhagavan, Bhagavat Prasadaja. The mercy of Bhagavan strictly follows the mercy of the devotee. This is the very reason why Swayam Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, descended in the form of the topmost devotee, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and poured his mercy everywhere. Sri Narottam Thakur has prayed to Sri Lokanath Goswami,
Kabe Lokanath more sange laya jabe Sri Rupera Pada Padme Mura Samarpibe.
O Gurudev, when will you bestow upon me your mercy and offer me to the feet of Sri Rupa Goswami? In the same manner, we see Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj praying at the end of almost every chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Sri Rupa Raghunatha Padeyarash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das.
Always praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, for your mercy, I, Krishnadas Kaviraj, recite this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhagavan can give bhakti, but not a mood of service to him. He can give the bhakti, but the seva has to come from us. It's a two-way street. Love. Along with bhakti, the devotee can also give his own bhav and his own personal realizations. By accepting these bhavs or moods, it no longer remains difficult for one to attain bhakti. In the same way that sugar syrup permeates every atom of a rasgulla, similarly every pore of the body of a Brajaras Rasik Guru or Vaishnava is completely saturated with Prema Bhakti Ras. At every moment, the Rasik Vaishnava continuously distributes the most purifying sweet discussions of Sri Radha Krishna's pastimes. His mind, intelligence, affection, and character are all completely filled with Sri Krishna's Rasamoy Bhakti, ambrosial devotion. By associating with these Rasik devotees, greed is awakened to serve Sri Krishna with prema. If due to that greed one has to give up his very life, Bhagavan will indeed become dearer to him than his own existence. So life and death, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sri Ramesh say, die to live. Doesn't matter for the body if Krishna is pleased. We all possess this prema rasa in our hearts. We've just gone through that. Kriti Satya Bhavat Sadhya Bhavsa Sadhanabhida Nitya Siddhyasya Bhavasya. This Nitya Siddha is residing in the heart. But now it is dormant, Prakritamiti Satyate, in potential. It is by hearing discussions saturated with Bhakti Ras that this prema will be awakened. The devotee hears Bhakti Shastras, devotional scriptures, and cultivates his Krishna consciousness by following the instructions given in them. Thus he becomes immersed in this Bhakti Bhav. So this was titled Prema Bhakti because Bhav Bhakti is like, I said that verse, Sudasattva Visheshatma, Prem Suryavamps Samyabhak. This Suryavamps, this ray of the sun of Prem, is Bhav Bhakti. So that's the stage after sadhan bhakti. So if your sadhan bhakti is not being focused on Bhav Bhakti, then your sadhan bhakti is like zero. This is how the acharyas have described it. Unless we're in knowledge of Bhav Bhakti, which again I said at the beginning, is also described in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadhamma, the 9 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti. What's that? That verse? These 9 symptoms. Time. Think of it in a second. Just can't catch that. Verse. Those 9 symptoms of Bhav. Asaktis Tajagunanikte. I'll think of it in a minute. So this is the end of our time. I just wanted to get that verse because it's the 9 symptoms of Bhav, describing, first of all, not wasting a moment of time, and then Shanti avyakta kaladvam, viraktiya manasunyata, ashrabandha samutkanta, namagana sadaruchi. These 9 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti are described. And I just tell you, this is on page 313 if you have this little verse book. These verses are like stepping stones, and if you're practicing properly, you'll remember them. So obviously I'm not practicing properly, so I can't remember them always. So this verse, Shanti avyakta kalatvam viraktiya manasunyita ashrabandha samutkanta namaganasara ashaktis tat gunat kene pritis tat vasate stale. So these are the 9 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti that are described in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadhamma. So we've just described Bhav Bhakti, which is like the ray of the sun of Prem. And Mahaprabhu is accepting this now. Fully he's accepting this. Because now we've crossed over this Viraja river, so to speak, and we've come to the land of real welfare of the soul. The soul's connection with the full spiritual realm. So we're going to continue with Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya Prem. This will be the progression from here. So I know that I've been reading through quite quickly. I know that I've been going through it, and you haven't had a chance to ask any questions. But that's, in one sense, good, because if you'd asked the questions, we wouldn't have reached through the end of the chapter. And we won't keep the whole context of the Sangbad flowing. So I hope it's been clear. And if it's not, you all have this book, and you can read over it amongst yourselves. So if it's not clear, that's wonderful. Then you can sit together, and you can read these portions. And if you have any burning questions, then you can send me on my WhatsApp link. So Rai Ramananda Sangbad Ki Jai.
Yeah.
So coming to our subject matter, and I was just reading today, it's quite remarkable when we start to become conversant and fluent with the different stages that we've been walking through. Varnashram, Nishkaram Karma Yoga, Sharanagat, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, Gyan Shunya Bhakti. And then yesterday we touched on Bhav Bhakti, or Prema Bhakti it's titled. Today we'll do Dasya, Ras and Shantaras. But when you start appreciating these truths in their crumb, in their gradation, you can pick them up everywhere. It's been spoken in other places. So I was reading today in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, chapter 9, text 36. I'm going to read a small paragraph here where Prabhupada enumerates the same stages we can appreciate. It's the same stages. The final conclusion, therefore, is that the glories of the Lord must be always and everywhere proclaimed. This is going to be our final conclusion. One should hear about his glories. We're already hearing about his glories, so we've already reached the final conclusion, but we're going to go further than the final conclusion. One should chant about his glories, and one should always remember his glories, because that is the highest perfectional stage of life. We see in every verse we've come to, Srila Ramananda Rai said, this is the highest perfectional stage in life. So if it's relating to Shuddha Bhakti, it's always the highest perfectional stage of life. As far as fruitive work is concerned, it is limited to an enjoyable body. So we've already discussed that also. As far as yoga is concerned, it is limited to the acquirement of mystic power. This is like Gyan Mishra Bhakti or even Gyan Shunya Bhakti, if it's not connecting with the Lord in relationship. As far as empiric philosophy is concerned, it is limited to the attainment of transcendental knowledge. And as far as transcendental knowledge is concerned, it is limited to attainment of salvation, moksha, right? People are going for moksha. Even if they are adopted, there is every chance of discrepancies in discharging the particular type of functions. So these are the dangers of all these paths. If we don't connect with the highest conclusion of seva, service to the Lord. By adoption of the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, but adoption of the transcendental devotional service of the Lord has no limit, nor is there fear of falling down. You cannot fall down from the path of pure devotion. The process automatically reaches the final stage by the grace of the Lord. By the grace of the Lord and the Lord's devotee. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, there is an apparent requisite for knowledge. But in the higher stage, there is no necessity for such knowledge. We discussed that the other day. How I gave the example of someone learning music, how they have to learn all the notes and so on first. And that's like knowledge, assimilating knowledge. And then once we reach the higher stages, we can just absorb the bhav of that sweetness, that sweet knowledge, the result of that. In other words, the Sangvit is mixing with the Hladini in the heart to become Vigyan. But in the higher stage, there is no necessity for such knowledge. The best and guaranteed path of progress is therefore engagement in Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. So this is mapping out the same route that we've been walking through with this Rai Ramananda Samvad. And Shastra is littered with the same steps. So it's not only here but we're becoming fluent with them here because it's being highlighted very carefully going through each one. So today we've come to page 71 for Dasya Prema in our Rai Ramananda Sangwar book. So we'll begin with Dasya Prema, the love of a servant for Krishna.
871 Prabhu kahe eho hai आगे कहा आर राय कहे दास्य प्रेम सर्वसाध्य सार.
Sriman Mahaprabhu said, this is fine. He's accepting this Krishna Rasa Bhavatamati. We read this yesterday, this verse. This greed, this lolyam must be there. So yesterday we basically began to unpack Bhav Bhakti. The chapter is titled Prema Bhakti, but it was really Bhav Bhakti that we were discussing. Kriti Sadhya Bhavat Sadhya Bhav Sasadhanavida, etc. Verses like this. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Suryavam Samyabhak. This ray of Prem, which is called Bhav, but it's coming from the sun of Prem, so it's the beginning. This is fine, you please speak something more. Sri Ramananda Roy replied, loving service in servitude, Dasya Prema, as exchanged by master and servant, is the essence of all perfection. Again, he's saying essence, and it is the essence, unless you go further. The bhakti of all devotees is not equal. Now, this is what we also discussed yesterday. My Gurudev was saying in his commentary that everything is gradated. Dasya Prema itself has gradations. There is Dasya Prema in Vaikuntha, which is completely different to the Dasya Prema in Vrindavan. And it's different again to the Dasya Prema in Dwarka or Mathura or Ayodhya. They're all different gradations. And he commented yesterday on the unique quality of every single individual soul. So there is space for every single flavor of Dasyabham, billions and billions of different nuances and flavors, etc. The bhakti of all devotees is not equal. There is gradation. Jivera Swaraphoy Nitya Krishna Das. It is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna. This Dasya Bhav also has gradations within it. If rain falls at the time of the Swati Nakshatra and falls upon an oyster, then that rain produces a pearl. If it falls on a banana plant, it produces camphor. And if it falls on the head of an elephant, it gives rise to Gajya Mukta, a pearl found in the projections of an elephant's forehead, and thus known as an elephant pearl. If that same rain falls on the feet of a cow, it makes a yellow pigment called Gorchana. And if it falls on bamboo, then Vamsa Lochan, which is a milky colored substance, is formed in the hollow of the bamboo. In other words, it's the same rain, but in different places it's producing different jewels, so to speak, or pearls, or reactions. So similarly, the rain of mercy is coming from the Lord, but all the different jivas are going to respond to it in their own unique ways. Different transformations take place depending on the objects the rain falls upon. Similarly, if a variety of seeds, such as mango, neem, and tamarind, are planted in the same garden and watered with the same Ganges water, 3 different kinds of fruit-bearing trees will appear. In the same way, despite the fact that everyone is a servant of Sri Krishna, each person's eternal constitutional service mood is different. We have to appreciate that, because this adds to the immensity of the variety which constitutes personality. If it was all the same, it would be impersonal. But because of this enormity of variety, then it's completely personal. And because these service moods are variegated, the happiness derived from the service is also variegated. There are different stages of bliss. We even have the simple outline, sneha, man, rag, pranaya, Bhav, Mahabhav, Rudha, Adirudha, Madanakhya, etc. All these different stages are there across the Viraja river of bliss, specialities of sweetness and love. By performing service, worship, and sadhana under the guidance of Sri Gurudev and Vaishnavas, the eternal constitutional position of the sadhak, the Nitya Swarup, manifests itself. Beforehand, Shuddha Sattva must necessarily manifest in the heart. So first must be Shuddha Sattva before the Nitya Swarup will manifest. Shuddha Sattva is the highest stage, that it's in the stage of Bhav. In the stage of Bhav, Shuddha Sattva can be manifesting. Shuddha Sattva, Visheshatma, Prem Suryavam Samyabhak. This Shuddha Sattva, when it's manifesting in the heart, the ray of the sun, Suryavams, will manifest in the heart. The essential meaning of Dasya Bhav is as follows. Sri Bhagavan is the object of service, and my master, Prabhu, and I am his servant, Das. The service propensity, Seva Vasana, that accompanies the mood of servitorship is called Dasya Prema. Actually, at the time of initiation, Gurudev plants this Krishna Seva Vasana in the heart. This is the Bhakti Lata Bij. At the time of initiation, this propensity for Vasana, for Seva, is planted in the heart of the Jiva. Krishna Seva Vasana. This is what Guru gives. He gives the enthusiasm for Seva. And on the path of Seva, all of these stages will manifest in sequence. Service rendered to Bhagavan that is devoid of this Dasya Bhav and its accompanying feelings of possessiveness, mamata, is called ordinary Prema Bhakti or Shanta Prema. In Shanta Prema, there's no relationship. We've said before in the Brahmajyoti, there is just the singular I, and I am experiencing some type of bliss. Brahma Bhuta Prasanata Matma na Sochati na Kanchati. I have no more material desires. I have no hankering, no lamentation. So that's a bliss. But that bliss is so limited compared to the bliss in relationship to the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. It cannot establish a relationship with Bhagavan in Shantaras. Shantaras is the place of the Jnani Bhaktas. What sort of relationship did Prahlad have? He's a Shanta Bhakta. He's a Jnani Bhakta. He didn't give Nrsingadev a glass of water after he killed thousands of demons. He didn't offer him a fan. There was no question of feeling that he had to perform any personal service to Bhagavan. He just offered vandanam, prayers, which are beautiful. But it's limited. All of this is beautiful, but there's particular points of beauty that we're highlighting to go to the extremity, to go to the highest consideration. That's what the whole Sangbad is about. When one's feeling of possessiveness of the Lord gradually increases, this ordinary prem, Shanta Prem, transforms into the mood of a servant, Dasya Bhav. More complete feelings of servitorship are found within all the Lord's associates who participate in his pastimes. This mood of servitude is present completely in the devotees in Dasya Ras, more completely in the devotees in the mellow of friendship, Sakhya Ras, most completely in the devotees in the parental mood, Vatsalya Ras, and totally complete in the devotees in the amorous mellow of Madhurya Ras. Now, there's a very wonderful description of this, and I believe it's by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. I wrote this down a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure it's Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. If anyone can correct me, that'll be wonderful. But I'm sure Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is saying, he gives the 5 rasas, and we've posted this document on the WhatsApp thread, and you should see it, because this is what this whole chapter and the next chapter is going to be opening out. That in Shantaras there is Krishna Nishta. What is Prahlad's great jewel. What is the jewel we take from the Prahlad Charita? Why did Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati tell us to read this Prahlad Charita at least 108 times? Because it bestows this Krishna Nishta. Prahlad had so much Nishta he could be thrown off the edge of a cliff. And he wasn't thinking, oh, Krishna's going to save me. He was just thinking, Rake Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rake. Krishna can save me or not save me. It's his will. Prahlad was in love with Krishna in that sense. So Shantaras has Krishna Nishta. Dasyaras has Krishna Nishta plus Seva. In Dasyaras there is Seva. That is going to be described. But there's something lacking in each of these rasas. I'll say that in a moment. So Sakyaras, again there's Krishna Nishta, there's Seva, but there's no Aishwarya. So Sakyaras is a grade up. Sakyaras. We're going to discuss that in the chapter after this. There's no Aishwarya, so it's superior. It's more complete. And then Vatsalyaras, Krishna Nishta, Seva, no Aishwarya, but plus Sneha, that melting of the heart affection. And in Madhurya Ras, it's Nijanga, Sangha. Nija Seva Sangha. Nija Seva Sangha. All the limbs. Nijanga Sangha. All the limbs are engaged in service to the Lord. Now in each of these, there's something lacking. In Shantaras, there's no intimacy. We've just described about Prahlad. There was no intimacy there. But still there was Krishna Nishta. And in Dasyaras, there's no confidence. You can't just, like even Hanumanji can't eat off the same plate as Ram. He can't kiss Lord Ram. He can't fight with Lord Ram. He's just in Dasyaras. It's not just, I mean, Hanuman is the greatest devotee. He's a Ragatmika Bhakta. Try to understand the context in which I'm speaking so that we can be comfortable with this description. There's no confidence in Dasyaras because it's limited to the Aishwarya is there. And in Sakyaras, it's lacking in affection, in full-blown affection. The full-blown affection has some restriction in comparison to Vatsalya or Madhurya. And then in Vatsalya Ras, it's described as lacking complete freedom. He describes it as lacking complete freedom. There's not unlimited freedom in Vatsalya Ras, but in Madhurya Ras, there is nothing lacking. So this is a very interesting document, and it's on the website there, on the WhatsApp thread. It's on the website also. But we can get an appreciation of what we're talking about here in these gradations. It doesn't mean, and I said before, that one is inferior to another. The word is Vaishishtya, which means speciality. Each has a speciality that the other doesn't have. But it's not inferior or superior in that sense, like the material sense. So understand that from the beginning. In the Dasya Bhakti of the devotees of Braj, mamata, excessive feelings of intimacy or possessiveness, are mixed with feelings of fraternity and parental affection for Sri Krishna. Now we've come to another grade, because Gurudev is talking about Braj. In Braj, everything changes. The various types of wonderment of Prem, all of which consist of the desire to please Sri Krishna, present themselves through devotional service rendered in the mood of servitude, Dasya Seva. So everything is in service. Mother Yashoda is serving. Nanda Baba is serving. The gopis are serving. The sakhas are serving. The servants are serving. The cows are serving. All is a mood of Dasya. That's what he's saying here. Through devotional service rendered in the mood of servitude, Dasya. So this is a collective appreciation. For the glorification of Dasya Prem, Sri Ramananda Roy quotes the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam.
872. Yannama shruti matrena puvan bhavati nirmalaha tasya tirtha pada kimva dashanam avashishyate.
Srimad Bhagavatam 9:5-16. Sri Durvasa, the best of rishis, said to Ambarish Maharaj, simply by hearing the all-auspicious names of Bhagavan, the jiva becomes pure. So for those who are the servants of the lotus feet of Tirthapada Bhagavan, what desirable object remains to be still attained? Just like the gopis when they were asked, to give their foot dust to cure the headache of Krishna. Immediately, they gave a mountain. They weren't concerned for their own welfare whatsoever. They just wanted to please Krishna. This is the mood of service to Krishna. Okay.
873. Bhavantam evanucharan nirantara prashanta nishesha mano ratantaraha kadaham aikantika nitya kinkaraha praharsha sishyami sanata jivitam.
This is Stotra Ratna 43, and it's spoken by Sri Yamuna Acharya or Yamuna Muni. This is the guru of Ramanujacharya. So we get the context of the Ramanuja mood for service. This is one of the teachings that Mahaprabhu takes from the Ramananda sect. He takes from the Sampradaya. He takes the mood of service to Krishna. O Lord, when will I become your eternal, one-pointed servant, renouncing all desires apart from serving you, and always feeling joyful because of having such a glorious master? So that Mahaprabhu takes this teaching from the Ramanuja Sampradaya. Sri Chakravarti Thakur explains that it is clear from both of these verses that there is nothing the servant of Bhagavan cannot attain. In both cases, the devotee's only prayer is for the feeling of eternal, exclusive servitorship. Service to Sri Krishna is the only success in life. We began this commentary. My Gurudev was quoting Jivara Surup Hoy Krishnara Nityadas. This is the constitutional position, nature of the jiva. But what type of service? This is what we're entering into, this consideration of what type of service. In Dasya Prema, that's the Staiva. In Dasya Prema, the speciality of Prema Bhakti is concealed. This Dasya Ras flows continuously in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Dwarka, Mathura and Braj. Yet throughout these holy abodes, Dasya Ras exists in special types of gradations. Again, this Vaishishtya. The feelings of awe and reverence, Aishwarya, diminish as one progresses from Vaikuntha to Ayodhya to Dwarka and to finally Braj. In Braj, Krishna has 2 arms. In Dwarka, Krishna often has 4 arms. In Mathura, practically most of the time, Krishna has 4 arms. And then Ayodhya, he has 2 arms as Ram, but he also can manifest. I actually don't remember an example of Ram manifesting with 4 arms. I can't remember that example. As one advances towards Braj, the feelings of reverence that are present in the devotees in the mood of servitorship of Vaikuntha are gradually concealed. Also, as one approaches Braj, the sweetness of Prem, as well as feelings of possessiveness for the Lord, increase. What a beautiful sentence to appreciate. Such profound truths are being gifted here. These are jewels, all of them. Just my Gurudev is just pouring these jewels out. I'll read that sentence again. Also, as one approaches Braj, the sweetness of Prem, as well as feelings of possessiveness for the Lord, increase. So our devotion in that direction will increase. Perhaps we begin in Vaidhi Bhakti. Those are the first conceptions of devotion that we hear about, that we're receptive to, because that's the stage that we come through. But then as we come closer to Braj, this consciousness of the sweetness starts to increase, and we're hearing sweeter and sweeter pastimes. So all the sweetness is increasing. In his Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Sri Sanatana Goswami says that the minds of the Dasya Bhaktas of Vrindavan are attracted only to the service of Brajendranandan Sri Krishna and nothing else. On the other hand, when the Dasya Bhaktas of Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura see the service of the Dasya Bhaktas of Braj, their greed awakens for that. In other words, it's superior in Braj. It is not that there is no opulence in Braj. Indeed, it exists in great profusion. Krishna lifting Sri Govardhan for 7 days with one hand, killing demons such as Putana and Aghasura, showing Mother Yashoda unlimited universes within his mouth. All these pastimes are full of opulence, but the Brajbasis consider such displays of majesty to be the power of Narayan, the influence of the illusory energy, or the spell of some witch. We understand, and I've said many times, this beautiful analogy that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives in the Raghavan Chandrika, how in Vaikuntha you put a spoonful of salt in a glass of water. The salt represents Aishwarya. The water represents Madhurya. So one spoonful in a glass of water and you stir it around, you're very, very conscious of the salt. In other words, in Vaikuntha, we're very conscious of the Aishwarya mood. But in Braj, the example is given, you can throw a 30, 40, 50 kilo sack of salt in the Ganga. The Ganga represents the enormity of the Madhurya in Braj. Then how much salt would you taste? In other words, there's more Aishwarya in Braj, but it's covered by such an immensity of Madhurya. But still there is more Aishwarya in Braj. 50 kilos of salt is different from a spoonful of salt. Understand the analogy, it's very clear, it's very graphic. For this reason, when Kanaya, a pet name for Sri Krishna, displayed unlimited universes within his mouth, Mother Yashoda thought, some witch has attacked my son. She's seeing all these universes, but she's not becoming susceptible to the Aishwarya and thinking all of a sudden her son is the Supreme Lord. In order to protect him, the controller of all, she bathed him in cow dung and cow urine, engaged the Brahmanas in chanting protective mantras and incarnations for him, and gave away charity on his behalf. She's the protector. This is the mood of all the Brijvasis. They are nurturing Krishna, whereas in Dwarka, Krishna is nurturing them. That is the feeling they all have. Krishna will protect me. Krishna is Supersoul, Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. He will protect us. But in Braj, everyone is thinking we must protect Krishna. Mother Yashoda is wanting to protect Krishna, bathing him, giving charity to the Brahmins to protect him from this witch. How beautiful and sweet. And what a contrast, a dynamic contrast. My Gurudev gave his life practically for explaining the distinction between Braj and Dwarka, again and again and again. And he used to say, if you don't know this distinction, you're still in the Kanishta platform. To come to the Madhyam, you must be clear as crystal on this distinction between Braj and Dwarka. So we've spoken many times on that before. Another speciality of the Dasya Bhaktas of Braj is that, again, unlike the Dasya devotees in other places, there are no feelings of pure respect and reverence. They don't have that Aishwarya. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reveals that devotees of Dasya Bhav, in the mood of awe and reverence, have a concept that offenses can be committed in their service. Therefore, for them, there is no deluge of prema. If you're always intimidated by not being able to give your full heart, etc., because you're intimidated by offense, you haven't got the confidence. You think that you haven't got the confidence and realization of your total attraction and affection to Krishna and his attraction and affection to you. This relationship hasn't developed. Therefore, there's fear. And that's what's engendered with Aishwarya. I described the other day, like the demigods. The Surya Dev, he rides his orbit out of fear. Fire incinerates out of fear. Indra pours the rain out of fear. This fear is there. That is in Aishwarya. Reverence, have the conception. There is no deluge of prema. In Dasya Prema, service is not fully developed. So it's some restriction, some obstacle is there. The service of the Dasya Bhaktas, Jai and Vijay in Vaikuntha, composed of feelings of pure awe and reverence, is extraordinarily beautiful. But in those bhaktas, we cannot see the mood of Vishrambha Seva. There's no intimacy there. Just like with Prahlad, where was the intimacy with the Sringadev? But in those bhaktas, we cannot see the mood of Vishrambha Seva, pure service performed with intimacy and devoid of feelings of awe and reverence. In order to fulfill the desire of their Lord during the pastimes, accomplished by Sri Krishna's creative internal potency, Yogamaya, they accepted 3 births in demonic species. By doing so, they gave their Lord an opportunity to taste viraras, or happiness obtained in fighting, in its completeness. They wanted to please the Lord. In one form, they were providing him with a taste of this chivalrous mellow, viraras, and simultaneously in another form. So they had 2 forms, Jai and Vijay. They had a form as the demons, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and Shishupal, and they had their separate swarup, or still, and it's saying, and simultaneously, in another form, or swarup, another swarup, they were engaged in their service in Vaikuntha. My Gurudev was so much trying to, in every slight way, give this impression. He was very vulnerable. He made himself very vulnerable sometimes. He made himself open to this warmth and connection. I was remembering today one occasion when we just had a big program in the Radha Govinda temple in Vrindavan, and we had an ambassador taxi waiting to take Gurudev back to Mathura, and there were a number of devotees going to go in the taxi. So Srila Gurudev, I got in first. He told me to get in, so I went right up against the window. And then Gurudev came right next to me, expecting like 4 other people on the same seat, like they do in India. So he was like crushed. So I was nervous sitting right next to Gurudev. And our legs weren't quite touching. And I remember Gurudev just putting his leg out completely and just touching me completely, just pushing my leg back. And immediately put his whole body against me, just to say, don't have any of this intimidation now. We're in a squashed up car, don't hang on to your Aishwarya. And then we had a beautiful conversation. But it was that mood pervaded my Gurudev. And these are all coming out in his instructions, clearly couched in Shastric, Siddhantic phrases or references. Almost all the devotees in Ayodhya are in Dasya Bhav. Amongst all the servants there, Sri Hanuman is the topmost. So all the servants, everyone is in Dasya Bhav in Ayodhya. Ayodhya is more beautiful than Vaikuntha. In Ayodhya, Krishna, Ram has a mother and father, brothers and sisters, etc. In Vaikuntha, who is the mother and father of Lord Narayan? He doesn't have one. He doesn't have any brothers and sisters. It's just Lord Narayan. So the Aishwarya is enormous. Hanuman serves his Lord, Sri Ram, with his full life force. We've spoken before the example, he rips his heart out, and we see inside the heart, Hanuman is serving Ram. Because of his great thirst for service, he warmly welcomes any type of service for Sri Ram, anything. But he has the Aishwarya, so he can't eat off the same plate. The intimacy, the Vishrambha Seva is not there. Ram is present in every pore of his entire being, and his every breath contains Ram. Ram is his life and soul. When by trickery, Ravan, the adopted younger brother of Ravana, took Sri Ram and Lakshman to Patala Loka as a human sacrifice, then and there Hanuman killed him, and seating Ram and Lakshman upon his shoulders, he took them away from there. But he cannot serve the Lord like the Dasya Bhaktas of Braj. He cannot take his Lord on his lap, and he cannot kiss him. So this is what we've been saying. These are distinctions. There's distinctions in the rasas. It's variety throughout. And appreciating this variety is very profound for the devotee's meditation. It can be accepted that the Dasya Bhaktas of Dwarka are superior to the Dasya Bhaktas of Ayodhya, but even within them, there is not so much as a scent of Sakhya, friendship. This Sakhya is absent there. In Sakhya, we've just read, what is the qualification of Sakhya, or the quality? It's no Aishwarya. This is in Braj Sakhya. Sriman Mahaprabhu, thinking that now Sri Ramananda Rai was approaching the desired sadhya, said, okay, this chapter is titled Sakhya Prema, the love of a friend for Krishna. Now we go to another ras, Sakhya ras.
Eight 74 Prabhu kahe eho hai kichu aage aar Rai kahe Sakhya Prem sarva sadhya sar.
Sriman Mahaprabhu said, this Dasya Prema is perfection. Yes, it's perfection, but it's not complete perfection or complete perfection. What you have said is correct, but please speak something beyond this. Sri Ramananda Roy replied, Sakhya Prema or Prema Bhakti infused with the feelings of fraternity is the essence of all perfection. We read in this Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's loving search for the ultimate reality yesterday, how Mahaprabhu is so kind to bring all these stages out in this conversation for us to appreciate. He's asking these questions for us, for you and me. There's no one else he's asking them for. Mahaprabhu previously was Nimai Pandit. He knows all these. He's God. He's Krishna himself. Ramananda Roy is Vishaka. But for our sake, this has all been spoken. The devotee who is in the profusion of prema considers himself to be as good as Krishna, does not accept that Krishna is superior to him in any way. There is a saying, can you say this? Kelati mem ko kako gusayan, which means in play, who is the master of anyone? When we're playing, you see children playing. Who is the master? Who is not the master? They are all playing together. Such devotees are called the Sakhas of Sri Krishna. There's a beautiful example of Madhu Mangal. Krishna is playing his flute, and Jamuna Devi is standing still in ecstasy. The water has stopped flowing. The trees are oozing out juice. The fruits are blossoming. There's so much effect of Krishna's flute manifesting. And then Madhu Mangal comes up and he pushes Krishna. He said, "Oi, they're not doing this just because of you. They're doing this because of Balaram." This is in Vidagdha Madhu. Don't think that just because you're playing your flute, all this is happening. He says it in such a beautiful, familiar way. So he breaks that, any scent of Aishwarya. No Aishwarya. I gave the other day the example of Uddhav. When he goes and sees Krishna, offers obeisances, then everything changes. Such devotees are called the Sakhas of Sri Krishna. The name of their favorable service mood to Sri Krishna is Sakhya Prema. The fixed devotion, Nishta, of Shantabhav, the service mood imbued with possessiveness, Mamata, of Dasya Bhav, and the mood of service with intimacy, Vishramba Seva, of Sakhya Bhav, are all present in this Sakhya Bhav. So as we described in that list, as we go up the scale, all of the different qualities are included, just like the elements, for example, within earth are all the elements of water, fire, air, and ether. And as it goes up, they get less and less and less and less. So as the rasas increase to Madhurya, all of these qualities will be there, finally in Madhurya. When one compares these bhavs, it can be seen that even though there is so much sense of possessiveness in Dasya Prema, it still retains Sambram Bhav, or feelings of respect, Sri Krishna is my master and I am his servant. All the friends in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Dwarka and Mathura accept Sri Krishna and Sri Ram as Bhagavan. However, in Sakhya Prema of Braj, the devotee maintains the feelings of great intimacy, Vishrambha Bhav. So he feels Sri Krishna is a cowherd boy, just like me. He is not superior to me in any way. We are equal as cowherd boys and friends. In addition, whatever is done by the devotee in Sakhya Prema will certainly please Krishna. I think my Gurudev has really explained this so brilliantly. He's going from one conception of Vaikuntha and just floating over into the conception of Braj. So we're seeing the line, we're seeing the sequence, the context, we're getting the passage, the pathway. And we are on that journey. First of all, perhaps we were appreciating more in a Vaikuntha mood. And then we perhaps become more elevated to an Ayodhya mood. And then again, by the mercy of Guru, perhaps we're starting to understand the nature of the Braj mood. While eating, should the Sakhas think that any foodstuff is especially tasty, they place their remnants into Sri Krishna's mouth, saying, Kanaya, just eat this pakora and see how tasty it is. They've already tasted it, and then they're giving it to Krishna. They do not feel shy in feeding their remnants to him. Hanuman would never dream of this, not even in a dream. He's in a different staibhav. The fear, hesitation, and respect of Dasya Bhav is not present in Sakhya Prema. In Sakhya Prema, it was described that ultimately the confidence is lacking. Only the feeling of equality, Samabhav, remains. Sakhya Prema is characterized by Vishrambha, one-pointed affection full of loving trust, and includes feelings of possessiveness between Sri Krishna and his devotees. This mood of mamata, we see the highest of this mamata is Sri Radha. Sri Radha considers Krishna hers. Chandravali, on the other hand, believes this tadatma, that I am Krishna's, I am yours. But Radhika is thinking, you are mine. So there's a distinction here. Even though Arjuna and the other sons of Pandu are eternal associates of the Lord, their affection for Sri Krishna in Sakhya Bhav is full of awe and reverence for him. They are also in Sakhya Ras. Arjuna was in Sakhya Ras. They would sleep on the same bed together, walk together, drive his chariot for him. Definitely this mood of Sakhya Ras. But it's nothing like the Sakhya Ras of Braj. Appreciate the distinction between Braj. This is all bringing out the nature and speciality of Vrindavan. And my Gurudev, being a Brijvasi, is able to do that fluently. But in Braj, such friends as Subal and Madhumangal possess Sakhya-rati, which is composed of sweetness. No Aishwarya there, Madhurya. Sriman Rai Ramananda here presents evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam.
875. Itam satam brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatenam maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vrajah vijahru krita punya punja.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, he who manifests himself to the Jnanis as the happiness of the Brahman effulgence, who manifests himself to the devotees of Dasya Ras as the supremely worshipful Lord, and who appears to those under the spell of illusory Maya as an ordinary boy, that same Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, plays in Sakhya Ras with the most fortunate cowherd boys of Braj, who are receiving the fruit of their profuse pious activities. So here again in this one verse, these gradations coming through. There are three different types of sadhaks: Jnanis, Karmis, and Bhaktas. According to their own particular devotional practice, they each realize Sri Krishna in different ways. Why is this emphasizing this distinction all the time? Because this is highlighting the personal aspect. It's eradicating any smell of impersonal thoughts about the Lord. Now we've crossed over into this realm. It's only personal. The verse currently under consideration, which depicts the realization of these different sadhaks, glorifies above all the good fortune of the cowherd boys of Braj, in whom Sakhya Bhav has arisen. Satam, the Jnanis, taking the help of bhakti, because you cannot achieve the fruit of any process without the help of bhakti, worship Bhagavan by the process of jnana, or speculative knowledge. Without bhakti, it is impossible for the jnani sadhaks to gain knowledge even. Thus, in order to achieve perfection in jnana, they take the shelter of bhakti. So they're taking the shelter of bhakti. We should understand the word satam here to indicate the followers of the path of jnana mixed with bhakti. So we're referencing this verse that Bilba Prabhu has just spoken. Brahma Sukhanubhavatya Utya. Jnanis worship Nirvishesh Brahm, the impersonal Brahman effulgence, as the absolute truth, desiring Sayuja Mukti, or to merge into the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord. Once they have achieved the perfection of this practice, they derive happiness from the perception or realization of this Nirvishesh Brahm, which is in fact the effulgence emanating from the bodily limbs of Sri Krishna. How is it possible for the Jnanis to sport with this Nirvishesh Brahm? To sport means to have any sort of pastimes or relationship with him. It's impersonal. Dasyam Gatanam refers to devotees who worship Sri Krishna in Dasya Bhav, nurturing feelings of respect and seeing him as their most worshipful Lord. They worship Sri Krishna in the form of Paradevata, Ishtadevata, or Paramaradita Devata, due to feelings of reverence for Sri Krishna. It is not possible for them to joke and play with him. Krishna loves to joke, he loves to play. Maya Shritanam, jivas who are attached to fruitive activities and bound by Maya, only recognize Bhagavan Sri Krishna as an ordinary human child. Such souls, under the shelter of the illusory potency, neither undertake the bhajan of Sri Krishna, nor do they love him. What to speak of playing with him? Such people are unable to have realization of him in any form. Like Indra, he thinks he's just a child. Who is this child stopping my yajna, my sacrifice? Krita Punya Punja. Those who have collected huge amounts of pious activities, the cowherd boys of Braj, who have achieved Sakhya Ras, the mood of friendship. In his commentary on this verse, Sri Saraswati Prabhupada says that it describes the vast fortune of the Sakhas of Braj, who go to the forest to picnic with Sri Krishna, binding him with the rope of Prema that is full of intimacy and devoid of reverence. These cowherd boys of Braj are said to have accumulated unlimited pious activities, or Krita Punya Punja. The fruitive workers, Kamis, the impersonalist philosophers, Jnanis, and the mystic yogis can never eat and drink or play with Krishna under any circumstances. Here the verse tells us that these sakhas are so fortunate that they sit on Krishna's shoulders and also have him sit on their shoulders. What a distinction. Sri Sanatana Goswami Pad says, Kirtanam Charitanam Bhagavataha Parama Prasada Hetu Vatvena Punyas Charavyaha Punja Yesham Te Irityaha. Kritya means the behavior or character of the cowherd boys. Punya means mind enchanting. The behavior of the sakhas is indeed the cause of Sri Krishna's topmost mercy upon them. Thus they are called Punya Punja. which means very beautiful or enchanting. Punja here means group. The Sakhas of Braj possess mature mamata, sense of possessiveness for Sri Krishna, which is generated from prem. So these distinctions. Itam, sinking or immersed in prem. There are examples of this in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:12, 4-12, describing how Sri Krishna and the Sakhas decorate each other with leaves and flowers, and how they steal each other's flutes and sticks. When for some reason Sri Krishna goes some distance away, the Sakhas then run to catch him. They imitate the calls of bees and peacocks with their forest bugles and flutes, dance with the peacocks, and sit like cranes on the bank of Jamuna. They contort their faces to resemble the cranes' mouths, jump like frogs, challenge their own shadows, and perform other mind-enchanting activities. The Sakhas, completely devoid of reverence and full of intimacy, Vishramba Bhav, exclaim as they climb on Sri Krishna's shoulders, Tume kon bhaga loka, Tumi ami sama. What kind of big man are you? You and I are equal. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 4, verse 25. They shout, oh, come on, Kanaya. What do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself a great person? You don't know anything. Your father only has 900,000 cows, while my father has 1,100,000 cows. Vrishabhanu Maharaj has, Sri Ram will say, the son of Vrishabhanu, that his father has 1,100,000 cows, more than Krishna. So he's more important than Krishna. If Krishna is sleeping and the cowherd boys arrive, they ask, oh mother, where is Kanaya? What is he doing? Mother Yashoda replies, now he is sleeping. Do not wake him up. But before her reply is heard, all the boys jump on his bed and wake him up, saying, Kanaya, are you still sleeping? The time for taking the cows out to graze is passing. Here is a sign of Sama Bhav, the mood of equality, in the intimate friendship between Sri Krishna and his friends. What is Krishna going to relish more? See these gradations, and we can achieve this by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. There are Sakhas in Dwarka, like Arjun and also others, but they can never act like this. As soon as Sri Krishna shows his Virat Swarup, universal form, to Arjun, he begins shaking in fear and joins his hands together in prayerful supplication. Likewise, in Ayodhya, Sakhas such as Sugriva, Vibhusan, Bibisan, Lakshman, Bharat, and Satrughna are the friends and brothers of Sri Ram. Even though they are his brothers and Sakhas, they can never act so intimately with him. Bharat, Lakshman, and Satrughna cannot sit on the same seat as Sri Ram because of their feelings of reverence and respect for him. These emotions make it impossible for them to have the same feelings of complete equality and intimacy, Vishramba Bhav, as the Sakhas of Braj. In Braj there is friendship, love, possessiveness, and sweetness.
Maharaj, just one point with that verse, 8.75. So the very first line, Itam Satam Brahma Sukha Anubhutya, so is referring to the jnanis, so who are experiencing Brahma Sukha, happiness of Brahman realization. Then the second line, Dasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena, is referring to the devotees or the bhaktas, so who are in the mood of Dasya, and to the Supreme Lord. And Maya Shritanam Nara Dharakena is referring to the fruitive workers or the karmis. So they are Maya Ashrita, they have taken shelter of Maya. So because of that, they are looking at Sri Krishna as an ordinary child or human.
Beautiful. These lines of this verse that my Gurudev has gone through, Bilva Prabhu is making it very clear, these headings and how they open out each line of this verse. It's very beautiful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thanks.
So this Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yes. Kande chadaya kare kridarana Krishna seve Krishna karai apana sevana Vishramba pradhana sakya gaurav sambramahina Ateva sakya raseratina guna chiha Mamata adhika Krishna atma samagyan Ateva sakya rasera Vasha Bhagavan.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 19. The devotee in Sakhya Ras sometimes offers Krishna service and sometimes he makes Krishna serve him. As they playfully fight, the gopas sometimes climb on Krishna's shoulders and sometimes they have him climb on their shoulders. This Sakhya Ras possesses three qualities: Vishramba Pradhan, the predominance of intimacy; Sakhya, friendship; and Gaurava, Sambram Hina, a lack of feelings of deference and reverential respect. So the beauty of these commentaries is that my Gurudev is carrying us clearly to the conception of Braj by also showing what is not Braj, Sakhya Ras, at the same time. So he's showing them both so we can be clear and understand this. Krishna's Sakhas, the cowherd boys of Braj, have not attained their position by the fruit of any punya or pious material activities or by observing any sadhan. They are all eternally perfect associates of the Lord, Nitya Siddha Parikas, and they have been engaged eternally in the loving service of Sri Krishna. We see in chapter 16 of Jaivadharma, it's described that Baladev Prabhu is manifesting all the residents in Vrindavan from his Sandini Shakti directly. These Nityasiddha Parikas are directly manifesting from Baladev. And then the Parikas in Vaikuntha, these servants in Vaikuntha, they are directly manifesting from Sankarshan, Mul Sankarshan, these different aspects of the Sandini, Ishtadev, Baladev. So in chapter 16, that is described. I can post the paragraph there where it's saying clearly. Just substantiating this fact that these are Nitya Siddha Parikas is what we're just reading. For tasting Sakhya Ras, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has manifested himself as all the cowherd boys from time eternal. All the cowherd boys are personified forms of the Sandini portion of the Swarup Shakti. That's Sandini, the Ishtadev being Baladev. To the ultimate degree that the tendency to serve is developed, then to that degree Sri Krishna, who is to be served as the object of service, Savya, Vastu, will also reveal himself. The service tendency of the eternal associates is fully developed in their Swatantraya Mai Seva, independent service. They have nothing else except to please Krishna by their service. And by following Anugatya Mai Seva, service performed under their guidance, then our own service tendency unfolds correspondingly. So, this is very beautiful. Description at the end here, actually highlighting the Nityasiddha Parikas and their position manifesting directly from this Sandini Shakti. They've been through no pious credits or anything like that. It's like it's saying in one of the verses by Lord Brahma that he feels these people, these these fortunate cowherd boys, Braj, are receiving the fruit of their profuse pious activities. Actually, it's not like that. It's not their profuse pious activities. They're manifesting as those personalities directly, just like the gopis are manifesting directly from Sri Radhika's Swarup Shakti. So I hope you've all managed to keep up with this beautiful contrast between what is Braj. My Gurudev is continually reinforcing the conception of what is Braja Bhakti, because that's the atmosphere that we're going to walk into very soon. Only this Braja Bhakti will be what is being referenced. This is what Mahaprabhu wants to hear. So but my Gurudev doesn't just mention it like that. He gives the other lower gradations, which will, by appreciating them, then the higher state of Braj Sakhya Ras or Braj Dasya Ras is going to be highlighted by appreciating the previous one. So we'll stop today. We won't do class, we won't be doing reading tomorrow, Sunday. We'll come back on Monday and enter into Vatsalya Prema, the love of a parent for Krishna. And it's just going to get thicker and thicker from here on. So I think my Gurudev is laying a very beautiful foundation for us to familiarize ourselves with the absolute distinction between these different realms and what a distinct realm is Goloka Vrindavan, and what distinct personalities are the Braja Gopis that we're going to be discussing. Shri Rai Ramananda Sangvad ki jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari.